and happy about the success of the character.
What was Pedro so earnest and happy about? Go watch that whole clip and then come back because we're going to talk about this. So many people have been sharing that video and tagging me, asking me to do a stitch on it about what he's talking about. And I gotta just say, it absolutely thrills me. As a therapist, I'm low key geeking out that people are so excited to talk about Pedro Pascal with regard to mental health and what all this means. So, anyway, in that clip, he's talking about how he allowed people to put their fingers in his eyes to take a picture at like the height of the Game of Thrones stuff. And he got an eye infection from letting people do it because he just was so earnest and happy about the success of the character, which, like, first of all, is so very Pedro and endearing and sweet. But also, let's talk about boundaries. A lot of people's comments to me were like, what does this mean? Why do you think he let them do that? Is that trauma? What's that about? Again, low key therapist geeking out. And as I've said many times before, and I'll say it again, I don't know him and I can't speak to his situation, but we can talk about why people do things like this. And I don't just mean letting people put their fingers in people's eyes, I mean letting people cross our boundaries. And it can be anything like we keep lending them money when they don't pay us back, we keep letting them touch us when we don't like it, we keep saying yes to events we don't want to be at, we smile and nod when inside we're screaming no or wrong or don't. And why I love this clip so much and why Pedro is such a great person to use as an example to talk about things mental health related is because it normalizes much of our human experience. Boundaries are not innate, they are taught, and then practiced and cultivated and implemented over time. And there are many things that can cause us to lose sight of our boundaries. And it's not always things like trauma or low self esteem or insecurity, although, like noted, that's a lot of it. Sometimes it can be things like our desire to be accepted or loved, our joy and eagerness over finally being acknowledged or appreciated, which seems to be kind of what Pedro was saying in the clip. Those emotions are powerful and they drive us. We have such a deep desire to belong, to be seen, heard, validated, to feel loved, like we matter, like we're making a difference. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if we're not aware of it and we don't practice controlling it, we can do things like get an infection in our eye. And none of us are immune to soft spots in our boundaries. Do you know what yours are? The areas where you desire something so strongly you compromise? In true Pedro style, he honestly and authentically discussed why he let that happen. He was so eager and happy. And I bet you he doesn't allow that to happen anymore. Because that's what happens when you're honest and reflective, when you own it and make changes. So, what's yours?